Senran Kagura Shinovi Versus is a game where you play as a cute anime girl, beating the shit out of other cute anime girls while ripping off their clothes to expose their soft, jiggly goodness for the world to see. If that sentence gave you an erection, then you will like this game. If it didn't, then what are you doing here? Shinovi Versus is the third entry into the Senran Kagura series of games, I think. I don't know, I didn't really do any research into the series because A, I didn't know it was a series until I finished the game. B, it's the game that introduced me to the series, so I want to treat it as a standalone game. And C, I don't care. There are three main components to the game: the girls, the story, and the combat. However, I don't think it'd be too controversial if I were to say that the girls are the biggest selling point, so we'll start with them first. The game has 20 girls split into 4 groups. I couldn't be fucked to remember any of their moon rune names, so instead I'll be categorizing them the best way I know how. Starting off, we have Vanilla, Incest, Rape, Tentacles, Face-Sitting, Old Man, Yaru, Humiliation, Fisting, LOVE Loli, Tomboy, Yuri, Smell, Fendom, Masochist, Tan Lines, Mother, Emotionless Sex, Lolly, Drugs. As you can see, the girls are diverse enough that chances are you'll find a few that you like based on character design alone. That being said, some more diverse body types would have been nice. The closest we get to a different skin tone is tanned, the only noticeable difference in their bodies are height, and every girl seemingly has the same breast size. Except for like 1.5. Like, what if I want to beat some skinny bitch as a cute chubby chick? What if I want to play as an American and pull a Hiroshima Part 2 on some girl's ass? What if I want to beat the shit out of a black— Don't get me wrong, I get that it's a Japanese game set in Japan, so it's going to have Japanese girls. Still, the girls are above average for anime girl standards. They're mostly memorable and distinct. You won't find girls like these anywhere else, and if you don't like their designs, you can customize everything from their hair to their underwear. It's a pretty fun system, although most of the normal outfits are just different schoolgirl uniforms, but there's plenty of variety in their ninja outfits and lingerie. If you're into customizing stuff, then you should like this system. Some of my own personal favorites include this one, where I tried to make Tiffany with the red schoolgirl outfit, and then she turns into a nurse because Tiffany wants to be one when she grows up. Or this one, which I like to call the Blind Bandit. Or this one, which doesn't really need an explanation. Personality-wise, the girls aren't too complex. Each girl will normally have 2 or 3 personality traits that'll define their character, and are oftentimes heavily based on common anime tropes. See this girl? She's rarely ever going to be more than child who likes candy. This chick is always going to be girl who likes to be hurt. This one is always going to be girl who doesn't have emotions, and this girl is always going to be best girl. There are some girls who don't have obvious simplistic traits like these, but as a result their personalities are always much more forgettable because they're a lot more grounded in reality. For a game about big titty ninja girls ripping off each other's clothes, simplistic yet fun characters work a lot better than the serious ones. For example, Emotionless Sex is pretty simple as a character, but her dialogue is some of the most entertaining stuff in the game, and as a result she's way more memorable as a character than girl who talks about fucking friendship or some shit, I don't know. This game's strength is in the simplicity of its characters and story, but unfortunately it doesn't utilize it nearly as much as it should. The story in the game is needlessly complex for what the game ultimately is. As mentioned earlier, the girls are all split into 4 groups, or more specifically, 3 schools and a gang playing hooky. The story between these 4 groups is that they're all ninjas, but these girls fucking hate everyone because their dead grandfather forgot to tell them to not be such fucking cunts to everyone before he died, and these girls end up fighting these girls because they're not fighting these girls, but because these girls are friendly rivals with those girls, they want to help them out so they don't die, but because these girls used to be with those girls but then ditched them, those girls fucking hate these girls, but in the group of these girls, there are these girls who secretly hate those girls and want to fucking kill them, but at the same time, they're fighting these girls because they're on their period or some shit, I don't know. And that is the simplest explanation of this story you will ever hear. There is a mountain of shit that I didn't go over because there's just too much for me to care. I came here to jack into some anime titties, not read a fucking novel. That being said, these girls do all have their own individual backstories, and most of them are depressing, serious, and it comes off as generic, boring, and forgettable. However, there is an exception to this. The hooky gang, for the most part, separate themselves from the clusterfuck that is the main story, and it allows them to have much simpler ones. For example, every school group will fight amongst each other to train, but in the hooky gang, they don't need to train because they're not a part of any school, so instead they fight for different reasons. One of my personal favorites is when Lolly is washing everyone's clothes at the river, and takes the opportunity to try on some of the other girls' panties. However, Drugs was secretly taking pictures of her doing it, so they go, "Hey, give me that camera! No, fuck you, I love child porn!" And then they fight. It's simple, it's funny, it's charming, and it's so much better than the complex nitty-gritty of the main story. And it doesn't end there. A part of the story shows us that Loli is a popular writer on the internet, but because she's too poor to afford a laptop or even go to an internet cafe, she sneaks into electronics stores and writes her novel online on their display laptops while trying not to get caught by the employees. It's the funniest shit ever. It's cute, it's memorable, I fucking love Loli! That's not to say that the game can't have a serious story while still being interesting. Take face-sitting. She comes from a large family that can develop a genetic power of hypnosis in their eyes when they become the right age. Every child in her family would literally kill to have it and become a kick-ass hypno-ninja, except for face-sitting. She didn't want to be a ninja, she sucked at it, and her dream was to open up her own store and sell sweets. Lo and behold, out of all of her siblings, she was the only one to get the power. She hated it. She thought she didn't deserve it, and she didn't want it. She expected everyone to resent her for it, but they didn't. No matter how much she sucked, everyone always supported her despite being the least qualified for her power in the family, which she hated. The worst part about it all is that because everyone always supports her, she's not sure if she's subconsciously using her hypnosis power to make everyone like her. She's not sure if her friends like her because she's a good person or because she's making them like her. That's a really cool and interesting story while still being serious and relatively simple at the same time. Sadly, these strokes of simplistic genius are limited to mostly the Hooky Gang, and even then, not all of them. If the entire story was like this, short, simple, and entertaining, then I would gladly take the time to carefully read all of it. However, as it stands, there's just too much serious shit that I don't care about because it's not entertaining. And that's just the main story. Each girl has their own individual arc that's more in line with traditional fighting game storylines, where one girl will go around fighting other girls for some reason nobody really gives a shit about. And this is how I would prefer the game handle its story. If a character's story is boring to you, then there's not much of it there to slow you down, and the stories are simple enough to be engaging on a basic level and sometimes downright endearing with how cute the girls can act. So the girls themselves are cute and fuckable, and the story is mostly shit with some corn in it, so that just leaves the combat, and, well, let's just start out with the positives. It feels really good to hit stuff. Like, really good. Controls are responsive, the animations are clean, the sound design is gratifying, and overall, beating the shit out of little girls is satisfying. Movement is tight, each girl has a distinct enough fighting style, and ripping off the clothes of the girls is an erotic spectacle you won't find in many other games, if any, and that's about where the positives end. Okay, the negatives. First off, the game has a leveling up system for its characters that completely destroys the balance of challenge. Most of the time, either everything fucking kills you in one hit, or you practically one-shot everything with no challenge. You get full health and complete charge for your special moves when you level up, so if you're having a tough time mid-fight and you level up, which happens a lot, you practically win because the game said so. The leveling system is how you unlock combos and moves, but the best strategy for almost every girl is to spam the X button while occasionally hitting Y. The special moves are so powerful and easily spammable that fights become too heavily dependent on them. Stripping clothes of the girls can only happen after a combo finisher or a special move, and because of how easy combos are, you can have a girl down to her panties while she's still almost at full health. Standard enemies can be a pain to fight. These girls are massive health sponges and are hard to stun. These fucking piece of shit turtles are only hurt by heavy attacks, so you have to stop and charge an attack for every one. The only way to completely strip a girl is to use your ultimate attack, but you can only use it when you're low on health, so if you're doing really well in a fight but you want to strip them naked, you have to intentionally hurt yourself before you're able to use it. The game tries to be a beat 'em up and a 1v1 fighting game at the same time, but as a result it ends up being great at neither of them. With all that being said, the one-on-one fights can be really fun and challenging. The basics for a wonderful fighting game are here, but it is ruined by a slew of bad design choices. So here are some ways that this game could be fixed and turned into an amazing one. I realize this is kind of pointless 2 years after the game's been out, but I quite literally have nothing better to do. Step 1. Get rid of the beat 'em up sections. They're not nearly as fun as the 1v1 fights, and it's not like it affects the story because I'm pretty sure they're not even explained in-game. Even if they are, they're not important to the main story at all anyway. This would give you more time to focus on the fun part of the game. Step 2. Get rid of the leveling up system. In a fighting game, it's more satisfying for a player to progress thanks to the improvement of their own skill, rather than grinding through the game long enough to let you pass. Step 3. Adjust the special moves. Make it so that they can only be activated after a long combo, or in a specific part of a map, or make them harder to get. This would make it so fights can be easily plowed through. Step 4. Make stripping girls based on damage done. This would make for a much better visual indicator for how much an opponent is damaged if it happened at set points in health. Girls would gradually be stripped of their clothes up to being naked when they're completely defeated. It would reward the player with anime titties for doing good in fights. Step 5. Get rid of all other characters except for Loli, and make an entire game about her. Preferably a VR game where you can engage in various acts with her such as head patting. This would make me very happy. So, overall, would I recommend this game? If stripping girls sounds like a fun time to you, then by all means go ahead. I don't regret my own purchase of the game, but you really have to be into anime girls to want this game. I can say that the game interested me enough to want to buy the other ones to see if they're any better, because like I said at the beginning, this could be a weaker entry into the series or some shit, I don't know. And I do like most of these girls, especially Loli. I want more of cute Loli. I want to hug her and support her. I want to come in her eye so she needs a second eye patch.
FBI, open up!